Let me take a moment and talk about Riverside.fm. It allows you to record studio quality audio and up to 4K video. When you need to record audio and video, Riverside.fm can do it. So if you're looking for a hero platform for all your recording needs, from podcasts to webinars to any video content, Riverside.fm. I've got a promo code for you where you'll receive a 30% discount on the first 3 months of your subscription. I'll give it to you twice. The promo code is SHIPIT. All one word, SHIPIT, and you'll pick up a 30% discount on your first 3 months of your subscription. Riverside.fm.
In this episode of the Football History Headlines, we discuss the collegiate career of one George Gipp, as well as many more Hall of Fame legendary stories and birthdays like Len Ford and Bob St. Clair, among others. It's all coming up for you in just a moment.
This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history on a day-to-day basis. Your host, Darren Hayes, is podcasting from America's North Shore to bring you the memories of the gridiron, one day at a time. So as we come out of the tunnel of the Sports History Network, let's take the field and go no huddle through the portal of positive gridiron history with pigskindispatch.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, my football friends. This is Darren Hayes of pigskindispatch.com, and welcome once again to the Pigpen, your portal to positive football history. And we are at the day of February 18th in football history, as we have football history every single day of the year. We're going to head to the year 1994 on this date of February 18th, and according to the honestday.com website, the Shreveport Pirates joined the Canadian Football League as the fourth United States-based team in the CFL. Unfortunately, that team, the Pirates, folded 1 year later in 1995, and that was an interesting period in Canadian Football League history, those mid-90s when they were trying the American expansion. And, you know, it's kind of a shame it didn't catch on. It would have been kind of an interesting dynamic to the CFL to have more than just the 9 teams that they have. To continue to have more than just the 9 teams they had. Wish that would have worked out a little bit better for them, but it wasn't the brand of football that we here in the States are used to. The NFL is king, and so is college football, and not quite. CFL is a great product, but not quite what the NFL and college football are here. Now let's go to some Hall of Fame birthdays for February 18th. February 18th, 1893, going back 100 years from our previous post. Alexandria, Minnesota, the awesome Army Football Center, John McEwen, claimed his birthday. John McEwen was honored with induction in the College Football Hall of Fame in 1962 after the National Football Foundation tallied up their votes. And now we're going to get to our spotlight of the day. February 18th birthday of, in 1895, Larium, Michigan, the legendary University of Notre Dame fullback George Gipp was born. The National Football Foundation's website tells us that in 4 varsity years, Gipp rushed for 2,341 yards. That was a school record that lasted all the way till 1978. He also completed 93 passes for 1,769 yards, punted, and returned kicks. He scored 156 points, counting touchdowns, extra points, and field goals. It was no wonder that with the talent such as George Gipp that the legendary Notre Dame football coach Knute Rockne would remember Gipp's last words to him as Gipp laid in a hospital bed dying from a battle with pneumonia. Gipp said, "Someday, Rock, when a team is up against it, when things aren't going bad and breaks are beating the boys, tell them to go out there and give it all they've got and just win one for the Gipper. And I don't know where I'll be then, Rock, but I know about it and I'll be happy." Just use those words some 8 years after Gipp's death in 1928 at a game against Army. The Irish were down by 6 at halftime in the locker room, and Knute Rockne's plea for the dear departed Gipp roused the Irish to a 12-6 comeback victory that may never be forgotten. The National Football Foundation selected George Gipp for entrance into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1951. And wow, what an interesting story that is. February 18th, 1926, Washington, D.C., Len Ford, the defensive end from the Michigan University, was born, and Ford first played professionally with the All-American Football Conference's Los Angeles Dons as a two-way end. Now, we got a chance to really talk about the Los Angeles Dons. If you look at our early pro football teams, we have a great segment with a great guest on the Los Angeles Dons. Make sure you check that out in Pigskin Dispatch. We also have the podcast on it. Well, he was loved by the quarterbacks on offense, and was Ford, as routinely he hauled in leaping one-handed grabs, and he was a big target, 6'4" and 245 pounds, according to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's a gigantic receiver there, especially for that era. His specialty was on the defensive side of the ball, though, and when the AFC disbanded, a former team of the defunct league, the Cleveland Browns, who moved into the National Football League, one of those three teams that were absorbed by the NFL, Browns, the 49ers, and the Colts, they grabbed Len quickly in a special draft in the NFL. The Browns, as a matter of fact, changed their whole defensive thought process after acquiring Ford because of his awesome pass rushing skills. In essence, creating a 4-3 defensive scheme. Len's dominance really shined bright in the 1954 NFL Championship game against the Detroit Lions, when Ford picked off two passes in a 56-10 rout. The Pro Football Hall of Fame enshrined Len Ford at the 1976 festivities in Canton, Ohio. February 18th, 1931, San Francisco, California, Bob St. Clair was an outstanding tackle from the University of Tulsa. He withstood 6'9", 273-pound giant of a man, found himself as being the third-round pick of his hometown 49ers in the 1953 NFL Draft for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The Bob played 11 seasons in San Francisco, named first or second team All-NFL and 9 times, and was selected to play in 5 Pro Bowls. Bob St. Clair happily admired his bronze bust in 1990 when the Pro Football Hall of Fame enshrined him in their museum. Now, February 18th, 1944, Pat Bowlen, he attended Oklahoma, and he ended up being one of the most successful NFL franchise owners in league history, as his Denver Broncos teams had 21 winning seasons in 30 years, and when he ran the club for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The Broncos teams that Bowlen owned sold out 400 straight home games. I mean, think about that for a second. The franchise has won 3 Super Bowls, Super Bowl 32, 33, and 50. And the Pro Football Hall of Fame enshrined Pat Bowlen as a contributor in 2019. Let's go to February 18th, 1947 for another birthday in Newport News, Virginia. The stellar Purdue University halfback Leroy Keys arrived in this life. The footballfoundation.org tells us that Keys got his first big play in college on the defensive side of the ball when, as a sophomore against Notre Dame, he picked off a fumble midair and raced 95 yards to pay dirt. In the 1968 season, he was a full-time offensive running back, and he had games where he rushed for 225 yards on 21 carries against Illinois, 2 touchdowns running and 1 passing against Notre Dame. But who could forget his 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter as Purdue came back from 11 points down to beat Indiana 38-35 during the 1968 season. Leroy Keys was honored with induction in the College Football Hall of Fame in 1990 after the National Football Foundation tallied up their votes. But wait, you think that's all the birthdays we have? No, we have more. Lots more February 18th. In 1962, for instance, Crowley, Texas, Gary Reasons, the outstanding linebacker from Northwestern State University, celebrated his day of birth. The National Football Foundation shares that Reasons set school records with 172 tackles in a season and 394 tackles in a career. He made 24 tackles in a single game against McNeese State. Northwestern State honored Gary by retiring his number 34 jersey at the end of his collegiate career, and Gary Reasons received the great honor of being selected for inclusion in the College Football Hall of Fame in 1996. Well, we have one more for you. February 18th, 1963, Norman, Oklahoma. The fine quarterback of the Iowa Hawkeyes, Chuck Long, was born. The National Football Foundation says that Long was able to play in 5 bowl games. And how's that, you ask? Well, in 1982, he got in for 2 plays in the Rose Bowl. but since it was such a small amount of playing time, the NCAA didn't count that as an eligible season. In 1984, he set a national record by completing 22 consecutive passes against Indiana. 1984, he led the nation in pass completion percentage at 661%. The National Football Foundation selected Chuck Long for entrance into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1999. Now, that is quite a mouthful, quite a bit of great football history through the birthdays of Hall of Famers. And, how can we forget about, Chuck Long and Bob St. Clair, Len Ford. What a tremendous player he was from the AAFC and then going into the NFL. Paul Brown was a genius for taking his former players that opposed him and using them on his Browns teams in the NFL. And, George Gipp, you always hear that from that famous movie that had Ronald Reagan before he was president, starring as the Gipper. And, but who realized what a great athlete he was? 2,341 yards and a school record from, back then in the 1920s all the way to 1978. That is just unbelievable, especially at Notre Dame. They ran the ball. They're not afraid to do that. But what a great athlete he was, and some great stories. Getting to talk a little bit of CFL today, CFL history. And we thank you for coming and joining us once again here to talk about the history. We bring it to you each and every day here on PigskinDispatch.com and the Pigskin Dispatch podcast. We hope you'll join us once again. If you want to know exactly when everything's going to be coming out, well, look in the show notes. We have an email address sign up for you there. Just click the link, fill out 2 boxes, email address, hit the subscribe. You'll get an email back, confirm it, and boom, you're going to get in your email inbox every single day everything that's happening on Pigskin Dispatch, everything that's happening on Jersey Dispatch, everything on the Sports Jersey Dispatch podcast, Pigskin Dispatch podcast, Orville Mulligan, and we'll even throw in some new events that are happening with the SportsHistoryNetwork.com. Now that's all in one place by subscribing to our email. You can do it through the show notes or on PigskinDispatch.com or JerseyDispatch.com. So we hope you'll do that so you'll join us each and every day. If not, follow us on your favorite podcast provider, and on Twitter we are at Pigskin Dispatch. We have the Pigskin Dispatch Facebook page, and we are always trying to go to LinkedIn a couple times a week, and also Reddit, among other things we're trying to do, and I answer a lot of questions on Quora. So follow us there. Until tomorrow, everybody, have a great Gridiron Day. We're taking a peek over at the chains and the down marker. It's 4th and long. We're going to have to punt the ball and get on out of here, but we'll have another series tomorrow for your football history headlines, so be sure to tune in. We invite you to check out our website, PigskinDispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. PigskinDispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. Special thanks to the talents of Mike and Gene Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast. PigskinDispatch.com is a proud affiliate of the Sports History Network, the headquarters of sports yesteryear.
Are you having a hard time figuring out what to get Dad for Father's Day? You should check out Row 1 Brand's Vintage Pictorum Gallery. They have America's best sports art. With over 7,200 historic sports prints, you're assured to find something unique for Dad this Father's Day. Instead of a boring old tie, get him a historic baseball photo taken by Henry High Sandom at the historic Polo Grounds Stadium in New York City during the 1894 Temple Cup. Or, if he's an NFL buff, check out the 1963 vintage NFL poster. These are so good looking that you'll be amazed how they turn out. Shop now at sportshistorynetwork.com/row1 and save 15% off your order.